Welcome to another exciting edition of Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Papergoy.
And I'm Mr. Magazine.
And for anyone new to the channel, I work out of my home, have a day job, got about 40,000 items up on eBay and Amazon, and I give the perspective of somebody working out of their home.
I'm Mr. Magazine with a big warehouse, 500,000 items online, and 15 employees.
Today we're going to talk about something or other that you and I see differently. Gasp! That almost never happens.
Sometimes.
And it comes down to, we recently went to an estate sale. And we talked about it a little bit on one of our live shows. They had a lot of gun materials there. Stuff like Winchester catalogs, all that sort of thing. But they had a lot of duplicates. And I was going through what they had, and I thought about it. And I said, I wasn't stealing stuff by any means. They were pretty aggressively priced, but we were getting a discount off of it because it was third day of the sale, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm looking and say they had, and I'm making it up because I don't know what year, but say they had 1968 Winchester manual or catalog.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm going to take one. And then I found another one a couple of spots away, and then I found another one and another one, and I said, I have to buy them all. And I ended up buying them all. They're not incredible money makers, but I will make my money on them. And my thought is you want to corner the market. And I know you're not a fan of duplicates.
But I am a fan of cornering the market. So there's my problem. Mm-hmm. I don't mind duplicates or triples when it gets into the 10, 20, 100 of each. It's just a long-term sell.
It definitely is, but here was my thought. And granted, there was only 3 of some of them. But you actually ended up purchasing, and you're going to sell them differently than I would. They had sealed cases of Winchester catalogs from, do you remember the year offhand?
1962, 63, 67. There was 3 or 4 different years.
Yep. And they were sealed cases of 50 or 100. 50, I don't even know how many. 50 sealed cases of 50 of them in there. And you got them at a decent enough price.
Yeah.
Now, I would have opened them up, and I would have listed one. And when it sold, then I would have found it and probably ended up at some point listed quantity 49 because when it sold, and just let it go about its business on eBay. Right. And I know that a lot of people, I know Auction Professor specifically says not to do that because you want to create scarcity. Mm-hmm. You want to make people, you don't want people to know you have 49. And although on the one hand, I do completely agree with that, far too often what's ended up happening is I've listed that I have 5. I've sold those 5, and then I forget to relist. And then I've got 45 of them sitting off somewhere that I just never relist.
Or I forgot where I put them. They just got lost in some box with some other miscellaneous stuff in the corner, and I'm like, darn, where'd I put those? So.
Well, the other thing, not that it takes a long time to list it, but say it took me a minute to list it. Well, I've lost that minute because now I find it. I have to relist from scratch because by the time I find it, it's going to be 3 years down the line, and I'm going to say, I still got 45 of those. How come I never sold any? Exactly. And then I do a search, and I say, oh, geez, it's because they're not listed.
Right.
So I would have broken open the case and would have sold them one by one.
I think there's 2 we did break. One was already broken open, missing a couple, so that we're doing individually. Then I bought the loose of 62s. There was like 60 or something of those. So we got 50 in a lot, and then we're singling off the rest. So some of them we're doing that with. Then the duplicate cases are sold as cases.
See, and I would not have sold a lot of 50 of them. And the reason why is at that point, I feel you're selling to your competition. Because who's going to buy 50 of those? A collector or a reseller?
Well, they're not going to be cheap, so I'll make my money if they sell, where he'll have to make a smaller margin to break them out.
But how much would you sell those 50 for?
I think we got them up for $250.
So $5 a piece.
Because that's half of what they sell for individually. The cheapest they sell for is 10 to 20, right? I think. Mm-hmm. So and I'll make 5 times my money at $250. I think I paid $50 a box, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So.
But you know as well as I do, they sit for a year. Somebody offers you $175 on it.
True. Very true.
You're going to end up taking it a year from now at $175.
Sure. Yep.
And a friend of the channel, Primetime Treasure Hunter, had a series where he interviewed Chuck from Mile High Comics. And Chuck he has opinions on everything. But he has an opinion on that. And he basically hates the people that sell out cheap. So his opinion is hold on to them, because what ends up happening is there are various things dumped on the market. And I'll give a perfect example. Are you familiar with what Ollie's is?
Yep.
I don't know if that's a nationwide or not, or if that's just a local kind of thing. I think it's nationwide. They're almost like a Big Lots. They buy clearance, they buy out, leftovers of warehouses, all that kind of thing. Well, they had a thing where they were selling Star Wars trade paperbacks. And I think they were asking like $2 a piece or something
Nice.
other like that.
Yeah.
They must have bought out hundreds of thousands of them.
Sure.
And they have them out for $2 a piece. Now, who's going to end up buying those? I'm shopping with my family and my niece. Oh, I love Star Wars. And you buy one for $2.19 or whatever it is, when the original price on it was $10. Tons of them are out there. If you ended up buying them, what you need to do is you need to be the first person to market. So before everybody else realizes Ollie's has them at $2.19, you sell out of yours at $8 a piece. Mm-hmm. Or you're the last one to market. You buy a bunch of them, you stick them aside in the corner, you forget about them, and in 10 years, you get your $8 a piece out of them.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to be able to get out of them today?
5.
2 to 5?
Yeah.
Something other like that?
Oh, yeah, lucky 5.
Yeah. So, and the perfect example of that, I think, is junk wax. When junk wax first came out, now give me a year of what junk wax was.
88 tops, that's the ultimate junk.
And what was that going for originally? When it originally
first came out, they were all around $20. I think they cost 10 from the distributorship, and they retailed for 20 because they were like 50 cents a pack, which would be $18. So
18 bucks.
Yeah.
Okay. So if in 1988, those came out in March of 1988, let's say, you get your boxes from the distributor, you're getting $18 a box out of them, maybe $16 because you have a discount, somebody's buying a box or whatever it is like that. Fast forward to June of 1995. What are you getting a box out of those?
Nothing, or nothing. No one wants them, but if they did want them, $5.
$5 a box. Yeah. Fast forward today. What are they going for now?
25.
$25 a box. So if you sold in that middle area, you had to pay right, or you were losing your shirt.
You're paying $1 selling for $5 if you bought it. Because there was one guy that used to do that. He'd buy up all the junk in town, and then he'd flip it somewhere else for make $2-3 a box, and it adds up.
So the person that really gets stuck is the person that's selling in the middle when it's a lot of it out there and there's no demand. Right. Well, at this point, it's dried up enough, and people have gotten cards graded, et cetera, that now it's worth selling.
Right.
So there were a couple of examples of things that you've purchased recently that you didn't necessarily want to buy, but I talked you into it because of the competition side of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't you give a quick overview of roughly what it was and what the deal was?
There was I don't think it was adult related. It was more like they were adult fashion magazines, I'm going to call them. I think they're called Skin 2s. And they're really fancy. They're oversized, high quality. And we've had them before. They sell for $20 to $30. And a gentleman called me from, I think he purchased the remains of their warehouse when they went out of business. And he had, how many thousand of them? There must have been 6,000 of these. So, but there was like 30 or 40 different issues, but 100 or more of each issue. And for me, I hate that because it takes up space in the warehouse. It's 2 pallets full, and they're going to slowly sell at $20-$30. So to get my money back, I got to sell a ton of them. So yes, Papergoy did convince me to buy them. I did buy them, and we just got them listed recently.
And what was my reasoning behind buying them? There were a couple of different reasons.
Don't let the competition buy them, and then I got to compete with them and lower my price, and they would control the market and the price at that point.
And what did you pay on them roughly?
I think it was less than $1, so I think it was $5,000 plus a few hundred for shipping, and it was it was close to 6,000 magazines. Whereas
if he took the time to, if he were situated where he could sell them on eBay, he could be the one getting the $20 to $25 a piece.
Right.
If he took them and he called around and he said to you, do you want 10 of them? I want, I've got 10 of each, $25 per group of 10. You probably would have bought 10 of each.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So he could have gotten $250 a piece from you.
Right.
Then called me and gotten $250 a piece from me,
right.
$250 a piece from the next guy until he sells out. Or then at that point, maybe I sit there and I go, well, you're giving me $2.50 a piece on 10. If I took 25, what can you give them to me for? Maybe his price goes down to $1.75 a piece because he's still getting rid of more of them and he's still making money.
Yeah.
Because he sold them to you at 90 cents a piece, and he still made money.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, but that's where, in my opinion, and again, we do differ somewhat on it, but my opinion, if you have a chance to corner the market on something, anybody buying more than one is probably a dealer. And they're going to be your competition. And the more you buy, generally speaking, the less you pay. So in other words, if you were buying one, maybe the guy wanted $5. You're buying 10, maybe he wanted $2.50 a piece. You're buying 100, maybe he wanted $1.75 a piece. Well, you got down to 90 cents a piece because you took them all. So you essentially got a lot of them for free if you stop and you take a look at that.
Yeah.
But the main thing is you have all of them.
Right.
And there's one situation where a gentleman ended up buying all of something or other right from the manufacturer. And at this point, the prices have gone up with the various foreign language magazines and all that kind of thing. And you know what I'm talking about. He'd gotten the call.
For which ones now?
Foreign language out of Chicago.
Is this my deal or your deal?
Your deal.
I hate when he throws this on me. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Hugh
here.
Hefner.
Oh, that deal. Okay. You could have just said Playboy, but okay. It makes it so hard on me.
Yeah, but it's so much more fun when people see this.
He's like that abstract behind me.
But he bought everything out, and now you've bought him out,
Right.
and you control the market on a lot of those various things.
Surprisingly.
It just took time.
Yeah.
What years are those? 90s?
There's some earlier ones and sporadically, but most are like 90s through early 2000s.
2000s,
yeah.
yep.
And I get some customers telling me like, "Oh, years ago those were $5, $10. What happened?" I go, oh, "They're 20 to 50 now, and they're selling." So I mean, I'm not going to lower my price.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And that's an example where, and I guess it all comes down to space. If you've got the space, that's really what it all comes down to. Now there are some things like the that one Wally Wood comic book that the print run of 3000 with the warehouse find. Those have never really recovered.
No.
And there are various other things like that they do have warehouse finds, and that we've talked about that before. That's one of the worst things you can have is a warehouse find. And I kind of tend to know warehouse finds. Back in the day, there was an auction house that I used to go to over in Brockport, and you'd see something, you go, "Wow, those are really high grade for being old."
Yeah.
Okay, and they got 10 of them. And then you go to the next auction. Wow, those are really high grade for being old, and they've got 10 of them.
10 more.
And then you go to the next auction. Wow, those are... And at some point... But here's the crazy thing. I wish I had kept track of what those things were. Because I bet at this point, I bet the prices recovered on them. Because it was a warehouse find in 1998.
Right.
It's been 25 years, 22 years. It's gone out into the market, and... prices probably recovered at this point, because even if the guy did have a warehouse find, say he found 500 of them,
Right.
as long as there's more than 500 collectors out there.
Oh, there's more than 500. I think I still have 100 of them somewhere floating around. I'm pretty sure.
So hopefully that gives you a little bit to think about there. If you've got the capital and you've got the space, because those are really the two things it comes down to. But if you have the capital and the space, and I guess the third thing is the time, because it isn't enough to have the capital to be able to buy them. If you do need cash flow, then you can't really buy and hoard.
Right.
But if you've got the ability where you can go and spend $1,000 on something or other, and you buy your competition out, and you've got all of them, time is on your side.
Yeah.
Because nobody else has them, and eventually other people's will sell through, and you'll end up getting your price.
Right.
And one other quick thing we were going to talk about a little bit is selling to your competition.
Yes.
And you recently had a situation, and you and I differed a little bit on it. Why don't you give a quick overview of, and we seem to differ on an awful lot of things, which is what makes the channel great.
That's super. Anywho,
It'd be boring if I always agree with you.
That's true. I think I mentioned earlier that at some point I bought a large collection of Victorian trade cards from the 1800s, and I think close to 10,000 of them. So we've been slowly listing them little by little on it. We maybe have 500 to 1,000 up so far. And they sell, I think the cheapest we're selling them with offers is 15. So that's the bare minimum, and those are for the common ones, and we sold them up as high as 50, $75, and then some gentleman made a bunch of offers, And it probably ended up being $300 in offers, and it was a little less than 50%. But I didn't click through them, but it seemed to be around 50%. So I was going to take them. I think I took a couple of the more common ones for 12 that I was asking 25. Then I looked at his name, and it was something like Dave's Trade Cards or something like that. So I'm like, well, let me just check.
Highest price trade cards.
Let me just check if he's selling trade cards. And yes, sure as that, he was. And he was not cheap. I think his trade cards were $50 to thousands of dollars each. So and I'm not an expert on him like he is. So maybe I had some rare ones in there that other people maybe don't know they're rare, and maybe he can double his money or triple his money. So I accepted a couple, and then I think I contacted you, and you just said take them all. It's easy money. Take them. And I'm like, all right. So I went to the next one. I was asking like 35. He was offering 12.
Okay, that I would not have taken.
Yeah, so
that
that
I
one,
would not have taken.
Then it was a 50. He was offering 20. So I countered on some, and I declined some other ones, and I don't think I've heard back from him yet. But he did buy a few. I don't believe he's paid yet, so maybe he's waiting to buy, counter more. But I just felt I was selling them too cheap, regardless if he was a reseller or not. If he was in the 50-60% range, I probably would have sold them all. But seeing that he was below that mark, and like I said, I haven't sold any under 15, and he's offering me a bunch of 12s on better than common ones. So, I hesitated.
See, and I guess my way of looking at it is, number one, these are all one-offs, I believe.
Yeah.
So it isn't a situation where you're asking, like on the fashion magazine, you're asking 25 and you're selling them for $8 each to somebody or other who's then going to sell them at 20 and undercut you on eBay.
Right.
These are all one-offs. You don't have a second one to sell.
Right.
So I'm looking at it, money in the pocket. Another thing that I brought up, he could be a collector. So he could be buying those for his own collection.
Right.
But this is the third one over here, third point, and I know we talked about, or I talked about on a live show, the one live show you weren't able to make, about leaving money on the table. And I know you and I are different about that. You get a little more upset about leaving money on the table than I do. I tend to look at it, for whatever reason, I tend to look at the larger picture. Did I make money on the deal?
Right.
Now, obviously, if I know it's worth $1,000 and I paid $1 for it, I'm not selling it for $5. I mean, that's just common sense. But if I paid $1 for it and I think it's worth $100 and you offer me $75, hey, I'm more than happy to sell it to you. And if you turn around and sell it for $1,000, shame on me, you had more knowledge than me. But I'm not going to kick myself. I might look at it and say, why did you get $1,000 out of it? What did I do wrong?
Right.
But you had more knowledge than me, so I'm not going to be upset about it. So I guess my way of looking at it is I've put it up for offered a certain price, and I made money on it.
I mean, I don't mind doing that, but there's been cases where, say, that graded comic, I got the Transformers 9.6 first one, and I think I'm asking $750. It sold as high as $1,000. It sold for $8. It sold for $7. But usually it sells for $650. Never less than it. All day long, $650 is the bottom it'll sell for. When I get people, offer me $500, I'm making a lot of money. But I'm also losing a lot of money, leaving money on the table.
Well, you're not losing anything.
No, I'm not.
But you're leaving money on the table. But that one I would actually agree with you on.
Yeah.
And the reason why I would agree with you on that one is because that is an established market.
Yeah.
You can look back and you can say, this sold for $750 on...
And that's what I tell these buyers. I've said, hey, there's never less than $650. Want to offer me the $650? I'll be happy to take it then. A lot of times I'll research before I accept offers sometimes that I feel are lower. If everyone else is selling a magazine for $30 all day long and they're offering me $20, well, why do I want to sell mine for $20?
I would agree with that. With an established market,
Right.
I would agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But a lot of the things we sell are kind of more obscure things.
Yeah.
And maybe a hook to sell it. Maybe you've got a buyer that you can get $100 out of this, and everybody else can only get $50 out of it.
Right.
And you're offering me $25. I mean, maybe I want $30 out of it, and I'll take $30 out of it, but I'll still give you a deal on it.
Yeah.
Because God bless you, when I sold it at $30, I only paid $1 on it.
Right.
So
even the guy with the trade cards, if he offered, and I do this a lot of times, I'll sell things very cheap if you're buying quantity, like a large quantity. So if he offered, if he wanted 20 of them for $1,000, whatever the case, if he was offering $1,000 for $2,500 worth, I probably would have jumped on it because I'm getting a quick flip and I'm getting 10% of my total amount back.
One other thing, and maybe we'll explore this a little more in another video at some day, but it just came to me. Name 4 items that you sold in June of 2012
Name 4 items.
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
I have no idea what I sold.
I'm
in
sure I
2012.
sold certain titles of magazines, but I don't know
You
specifically.
don't know
You're right.
specifics what they were.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the way I look at it. Even if I sat there and I sold something today for $25 that I paid $1 for, and it turns out I could have gotten $125 out of it. We're going to be sitting here doing a video in June of 2028, and I won't remember that.
I remember some bad deals I made. So, like, I hit the offer by mistake and at Emmitt Smith baseball. I remember that. It was like 10 years ago.
Well, all right.
Maybe because it's Emmitt Smith and he was my favorite player growing up. But
Maybe you got a longer memory than me, but I look at it that
I don't like losing. I remember.
But I guess I look at it that, okay, I sold something for 25. I could have gotten 125.
Right.
It's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I took that 25. I bought 25 items for $1 a piece that I sold at 15 a piece.
Right.
So I've already turned that over.
Yeah.
And it's long gone, and I can't cry
Sure.
over spilled
Right.
milk,
No,
as
I
it
agree.
were.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I know this video went a little bit long, but we got some good conversations in here. And if you could comment down below about selling the competition and about cornering the market on something or other, because again, we've got a little different views on it. Hopefully, you let us know which one works best for you. If you could have hit the like button, definitely would appreciate that, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next video.
Take care. Bye-bye.